come now to the moment of integrity. Sure, you've got a protest, you've got a legitimate right.
So what do we do then? Just sit around and wait?
No, communicate.
To who?
Yeah, we can
I
do
know.
it.
Who bloody answers? Who answers?
Right.
Which one of those CMO turds answers anyone?
Right.
David,
I
I've
agree.
served you for
Right.
years and I can't...
Gentlemen, I think that we have to define a definition here. David, if I may, excuse me, this is a free. I think we're guaranteed the right to express our opinions by the creed of the church.
Yeah.
I would like also to establish here, what is the basic definition? What is Scientology? Is it a building? Is it a comm basket?
No.
Is it a piece of paper that says you are an SP? No. It is a philosophic machine, the org board and so on. But it can only be operated by Thetans, not in-Thetans. And its power, its strength, is the technology. Scientology is its theta and its technology. We do not alter that technology. I curse anyone who alters the technology and the policy. I am Ron's deputy, and I'm here to see that that tech stays in, just as David Mayo is, and just as anyone who is trying to do it here. I have worked with Ron many centuries. Many more centuries. Millions. And what I create here and what I originate here is only what Ron has originated and is unable at the moment to come before you and say, for God's sake, help me!
That's it.
I really got to go. I really got
communication.
Tomorrow, we're going to meet. We'll see
Oh,
tomorrow.
fine.
We have a little more to do before they close up, so
Okay.
We can continue.
Right.
Accelerator's policy is, there is policy on splinter orgs and splinter groups. I say, okay, it's tough, Rory. I know it's tough. It's very, very hard. I'm prepared to go the extra mile. That's my position. Okay?
We understand, David. Thank you.
David,
Okay.
your communication.
Can I please say one thing, which I feel is
David can
relevant?
communicate to all of you.
I think we've all gone through the same thing that David has gone through. But did LRH go into psychiatry and try and reform that from within? Because I feel that we're in that sort of position now.
We do have a message for you, right? And I think John was about to introduce me, Captain Bill. Right? And I am the first one, he will tell you, that I do not create anything new here in terms of technology. Nothing. All I am giving you is an alternative way to be free of having your technology and your knowledge suppressed. You cannot find your technology in those buildings anymore. That is the problem. We all ran into that problem. Where do you find your technology? In the books, in the lectures, in the tapes, and so on. We're advising everyone that can to make a storehouse of these technological materials, policy letters, bulletins, tapes, everything they can find against the time when the government succeeds in its takeover and goes around and does a Ray Bradbury Fahrenheit 451 on everyone they can. That means burn your books. We are a bigger threat to the people who are secretly trying to control this planet than any other group on this planet. If you do not believe that, listen to the debrief tape, read the issue I wrote called Models and Scenarios, which tells how this planet is being run, how it is being controlled. Listen to Ron's Journal 1967, and then go push on those lines for yourselves, knock on those doors for yourselves. And if it's all hallucination, my friends, nothing will happen. However, if there's truth in it, you will find there is resistance there. If it was just a nice science fiction story like Ron talked about in his tape, we could all ha-ha laugh about it and go on being slaves. It is not that. I have personally found that out for myself. I invite you all to find it out for yourselves. Operation Phoenix is Scientology. It is the actual rebirth of Operation Phoenix Ron did in Phoenix, Arizona in 1952 when he had to break away from the Dianetic research people who had taken over his research, his whole operation in Dianetics. He writes about this in Policy. What did he do? He started Scientology in Phoenix, Arizona.
And then he changed from has to hezzy. Same thing.
Yes. Whenever he was threatened or whenever the thing was taken over by suppressive interest and held in by legal enforcement and so on, he just exteriorized out the top of that organization and set up a new one with the same technology, the same principles, the same policies, and the same road to freedom. Yes. And all the theta he could. Right. Now, not only tonight do you have an alternative, the actual alternative to, the only alternative to the fear and the hiding and being disconnected from each other as OTs. You have an alternative on the third dynamic. But John was about to tell you we have the alternative on the fourth dynamic too, because the reason the former third dynamic was able to be suppressed was because the fourth dynamic engram was not handled. And that engram is not just a past-track incident. It is being kept in PT intentionally on this planet to keep it a slave, controlled, conforming planet of one-like bodies. Yeah. Now, this is the alternative that Ron started in 1974 to handle that fourth dynamic. He tried it from within the church, and it was so heavily attacked in the first 2 months by government agencies. Arthur Hubbard was on this with me. We were threatened with assassination after 6 weeks of promoting this plan. We were threatened with assassination by government agents. After another week, the meeting we were having in Vancouver, I don't know if any of you were there, was entered by a gang of 40 motorcycle jacketed punks. And they tried to break up our meeting. They had been given drugs by a psychiatrist who worked for the government, told them that these people are out to rob money from people, go and break up their organization and take these drugs as payment. They ran into the place swinging motorcycle chains, and 700 Scientologists arose at the call, HCO, bring order, and threw all of those assholes out the door in 3 seconds. Now, they were so, that had never happened. It was incredible to them. They didn't sow any fear into that auditorium. They didn't sow any, nobody ran from them. They ran toward them and they just mashed them out the doors. They couldn't even move. Okay, they grabbed the leader outside. He was white. He came in, he said, "You must be a real church. No one could act like that. I apologize. I'm sorry, my friends. Well, we didn't mean to." He ran up against the seventh dynamic, fellas. All right? You're not just a third dynamic. You're not just a fourth dynamic. You're all dynamics. The tape, Dynamics in the Tone Scale, the bulletin was written off of that tape that David referred to just a few minutes ago, tells you that. You are all dynamics. Okay. So what is the plan? The alternative, the way on the fourth dynamic so that this can never happen again. Yes, the third dynamic, you say multiple source points, but what if they do go around and start Fahrenheit 451, burning your books, legally sequestering your materials, because of some little organization the government now controls that says, we own the copyrights, we own the copyrights. See, Ron never authorized RTC. He is not on the founding board of that RTC. We have their corporation papers. There is nothing in there that Ron authorized. RTC was set up as an idea, seeded into the top management of the CMO by an SP government operative named Alan Hubbard. MI6, MI5, who was the chairman of the board of directors, Church of Scientology in Los Angeles, still is. His idea was given to Miscavige, and his set up the RTC, non-complying with LRH's order to keep all the organizations of Scientology totally separate so they could not be hit by illegal action all at once. I remember as he moved back off the lines for legal reasons, he said, in a dispatch that I read to them, said, keep the organizations separately incorporated. There was whole projects to do this. And after he was off the way, RTC put it back together so it could be hit by the government in one place and it would all fall. Now, why can't this happen again? Because the leaders of this are not just after our church, they're after the whole of this planet. The enemy is not after just Scientology. They're trying to hit the Catholics, the Mormons, everyone, the anti-religious movement. You go to those people, you'll find out they have the same problems. They're not only after you, they're after governments. They handle them with economic duress. Listen. Listen. Take a look. It's exactly the same thing. You want to know why we are so dangerous to them? Imagine a cell. 6 walls, cell, no door, no window. A being inside that cell. However, the cell is 20 feet across, and 20 feet high, and 20 feet wide. But the being, his diameter is only 19 feet. His awareness is only 19 feet. Does he see the walls? No. Now, if you're a suppressive, what you do is you give the guy, the being in the middle, some drugs, and you give him some boomph on the TV, and you make him think he's a one-lifetimer. You give him a little bod to sit in there in, and his awareness finally goes down to 18 feet. And when it goes down to 18 feet, you move the walls into 19 feet. Am I tracking with you? Have you ever experienced this on this planet? Yeah. And finally, when you get him down to about this size, the walls are down about this size, and everyone's naturally compartmented and conforming nicely all over the whole planet, one lifetime bodies, and the guys sitting up on the top are going, man, we got this whole planet. And if anybody jumps out of line, anybody non-conforms, well, we got the methods. Lobotomy, shock treatment, implanting, Siberia, whatever you want, baby, it's there. That is the mechanism by which this planet is being controlled right now. And the thing they fear most is people who can, one, see the walls, but they even fear something else more, because the person who can only see the walls is still a piece in the game. And he can be controlled as a piece. By cutting his 2D, by cutting his economic security, by declaring him suppressive, whatever you have to do, you can try and get his awareness back down to where you don't see the walls anymore. Right? Yes. Okay, but the thing they fear the most is a guy that sees the walls and goes right through them. Because right outside those walls is freedom. And there's no fear. But not only that, the guy has now graduated from a piece to a player. And when he's a player, he can handle other players who are playing the suppressive game. You can't handle suppressives who have a lot of earthly power and money and lines and so. You can't handle those guys as a piece. You have to handle them as a player. And I invite you all as OTs to get your case gain in application as well as the knowledge, as well as the processing. There are 3 areas of case gain. You'll know, Ron said, 50% from auditing, 50% from training, and 50% more from application. You want to get big, you're going to run into the walls first. You go right through them, there's no more fear. You realize, hey, I'm a player too. Those guys that are on the other side are not as big as you. That's why they're afraid of you. All right, so what do you do? What game do you play there? What game are they playing? Putting guys in smaller boxes, putting them down. That's the old civilization, we call it. So our game is simply the new civilization. And that's what Ron called it in 1974. But it found out it could not be pushed from inside the church. It has to be pushed outside the church, as we are all members of this planet's civilization. It is a 4th dynamic game. He ended off that cycle. He never ended it. He ended it in the church, but he never ends a cycle. He always comes back to finish those cycles. All the OT projects of 1967, all of them led up to this particular game called New Civilization. All of them fit under it. Everything we are doing on this planet fits under this game called the New Civilization. I want to read to you. It is not very long. The New Civilization game. Definition. Are you ready? Yeah. To join, to see if you want to play a game. You're free to say, well. By the way, I just want to reiterate first, you have 2 rights, inalienable rights that we respect, that LRH gave you on the OT tapes, right? The OT lecture series tapes. One is the right to your own sanity. No one is going to try to hurt your sanity level. 2, your right to leave a game. If you don't like the game, you can leave it. It's fine. Because with those 2 rights, a Thetan can still be free anywhere. But these Thetans that are still in that little box and are small, they can't leave that game. They can't leave it. They can't leave it. They can't. The only way they can get out of that game is to get bigger. In other words, they're being made more insane, so that they get smaller every day, so the walls can get in on them, and they're being made insane. If they get sane, they get bigger, they can get out of it. Okay, definition. A civilization is an economic engine that runs on ideas and whose products are survival of its dynamic components and expansion of its knowledge, responsibility, and control, its affinity, reality, and communication, its matter, energy, space, and time, and its ethics, tech, and administration. When its economics are suppressed, it goes negative, contracts, and wastes or destroys its dynamic components. That is to say, it destroys or wastes its people, families, groups, businesses, organizations, governments, races, species, animal and plant life, physical environment, energy sources, spaces and time, ideas, spiritual values, beings and religions, aesthetics and art, and its codes of behavior and ethics. That's when it goes negative, contracts. It's being run with a non-survival, non-expansion intention. That is this planet today, on the 4th dynamic. The rescue of a dying civilization is accomplished by an identifying the suppressive influence, supplying a positive alternative, disseminating it as a vector of comparable magnitude, stably financing it, keeping its positive production and exchange free and unregulated, reviewing and correcting as needed to increase its power, distributing its values and aesthetics broadly, and responsibly evaluating, planning, and coordinating the survival and expansion of its components. The senior managerial organization on a planet should ensure that its civilization, that is on a planet, should ensure that its civilization, as per above definition, continues to flourish and prosper and purposes. That's from LRH. The new civilization game. The new civilization is a game where everyone wins. Its freedoms are for each individual so that all survival and expansion purposes may be obtained. There is freedom of ideas, economics, and participation in all the components of a civilization. Barriers include the old civilization, which is suppressing individuals by giving them what they do not need and do not want. That is to say, unemployment, taxes, wars, atomic, biological, and chemical weapons, unstable currencies, criminality, mind-destroying drugs, environmental pollution, destruction of the balances of nature, suppression of economics resulting in bankruptcies, suppression of ideas for survival and expansion and health, suppression of freedoms of speech, press, and religion, and police state control operations with psychopolitical and computer control of every individual. That's what we do not need and do not want. Those are freedom's barriers. Now here come the purposes. The new civilization game gives planet Earth several new purposes. The first is for survival. It is based on the observable fact that Earth is actually a large spaceship with its living space on the outside and containing all the raw material for survival of a large civilization. It is home for its individuals living on it. Thus, the first purpose is to actively put our home planet Earth in order, maintaining its natural balance for the survival of the new civilization, and preventing, restraining, and or ceasing to cooperate with those who would destroy our home. Purposes for expansion. It is based on the observable fact that there are other worlds in space besides Earth, and the new civilization will expand to these frontiers. The second purpose is to viably develop the technology and equipment for free enterprise and private and public travel to other planets and systems for the expansion of the new civilization, and to protest loudly and refuse to cooperate with those who would keep and use these developments for purely military, destructive, or other suppressive intentions. The third purpose is for production and exchange. It is based on the observable fact that Earth does not have enough production to care for its own people fully, much less any exchangeable production for export to any other planets or systems. The third purpose is then to make available technology, products, goods, and services for all the peoples of Earth, and the capability to export surpluses to other planets and systems, decrying and refusing to cooperate with those who would keep people unemployed, ignorant, poor, underfed, and unhealthy for suppressive reasons of their own. The fourth purpose is for economics. It is based on the observable fact that old civilization bankers, governments, and politicians have no stable medium of exchange for which one can be absolutely confident of equivalent value anywhere on planet Earth. The fourth purpose is to develop, standardize, and get in use a stable medium of exchange so that the new civilization can confidently and prosper, flourish and prosper, that is, without inflations, deflations, and depressions, and to educate people in basic economics so that they never fall prey to or support those persons and groups who use economics to suppress. This is very important because your government is under economic suppression right now. And every government that owes money to the world bankers or the International Monetary Fund, or anyone that is in debt, is taking certain conditions which have to be met, which take away your freedoms and the sovereignty of your nation, before those loans are either extended or given or rolled over. That is true. You want to go investigate it, go investigate it, but watch out. As for freedom, it is based on the observable fact that the existing old civilization gradually and often suddenly suppresses freedoms of all kinds: spiritual, economic, travel, speech, writing, and aesthetic freedoms, resulting in a more and more mind-controlled, apathetic, and irresponsible society in which the fun and enjoyment of life and creative endeavor is gone. The fifth purpose is to recognize, validate, and support all types of creative endeavor and pro-survival and pro-expansion activities, cherishing one's own freedom as the key to achievement of all the new civilization's purposes, and actively resisting and defeating any attempt to limit or regulate one's freedom or rights in the new civilization game. The sixth purpose is for pleasure. It is based on the observable fact that much of the fun is gone from life in the old civilization, and a game should be interesting, fun, and rewarded with pleasure moments. The sixth purpose is to encourage, assist, and or take part in a renaissance of cultural, artistic, social events, sports, hobbies, reading, writing, poetry, music, drama, stage and screen productions, and other creative and philosophic and artistic endeavors, as these best express the values and purposes and dreams and vitality of a civilization, and help in distributing its message to others who may wish to join the game and have fun too. The seventh purpose, it is based on the observable fact that the old civilization is a mass of contradictions, conflicts, and useless expensive actions, coupled with useless expensive delay. For example, wars, political conflicts, border disputes, your tax money spent on stocks of weapons that can destroy the earth hundreds of times over and kill all life on it, slow justice procedures, delays in payments for sold goods and services, delays in transport, mail, and paperwork, and an overall sense of impending doom and non-survival. Thus, the seventh purpose is to coordinate the new civilization according to its definition and purposes, so that its thrusts and vectors are aligned for survival, expansion, and prosperity, which relies on the continued freedom and happiness of the individuals comprising it. This to be accomplished as rapidly as possible in alignment with the organizational pages. Note in A, important note, the new civilization is not limited to the above purposes. There will be more as expansion occurs. No new purpose, however, will contradict or eliminate these purposes or the definition of a new civilization. These are yours forever. The new civilization, thank you. The new civilization organizational plan. It is based on the old org board. Everything on Earth can be put on this org board. You can look at it after if you like, but it's got its regular 7th division up here and the 6th down here for ease in viewing it. Your executives here, and it can be applied at any level: survival, expansion, communications, personnel, security, archives, education, publications, assets, economics, finance, planning, production, and conservation at the same time. It has to go with their production. Religious freedoms and professionals, qualifying groups, performances, entertainment, and artists. By the way, this is based, as you might have realized, many of you OTs, on Ron's original game called Civilization, which was way long time ago, right at the beginning of the Civilization game. It was impeded by implanting. That was the thing that broke it apart and made it go down spiral. Now we can re-implant it out of it. Anyway, the new civilization. Notes on the org board. This plan applies to all echelons of life on the planet: personal, family, group, nation, race, government, and all organizations. It has the complete necessities for survival and expansion, given worthwhile purposes to set it in motion. Used by an individual or group, it helps them survive and expand faster. Used by a civilization, it helps it to prosper and achieve its purposes faster. It is used to gain agreement on matters needing coordination and increase the speed of decision. New civilization. Why? Why? Knowledge is power. But power is not knowledge. One who has little or no knowledge will lose power as he uses the power. One who has all knowledge but no power will gain and win power as he uses the knowledge. Power is an ability of using energy and force to create and or destroy. Used with little, false, or no knowledge of the true nature of things, and being ignorant of purposes and plans of organization inherent in all life, one without knowledge who uses power will surely create destruction or destroy things that are being created. This is observable in the highest echelons of planetary government in the old civil. Many of you have done upper levels. You realize also that that's a nice implant they've been given too, but they sure do that. Balancing and far outweighing the small percent, 2 or 3, of people who have the power without knowledge. We're talking about SPs to you guys, but out there in the new civilization, the old civilization, they don't know about SP. But balancing and far outweighing the small percent of people who have the power without knowledge, or they have the insanity, are the millions of people of Earth who have knowledge of life, the truth of what it takes to survive, the duty and loyalty to their family and friends, and the trust that others will exchange, work, and play in a fair and honest, friendly fashion as they do themselves. These millions, some 97 of Earth, are the source of all the good things and survival components of the civilization. Then why is the old civilization in such poor condition? Because the power that the insane 2 or 3% are using is continually being given to them by the 97%. It is given in the form of financial energy, taxation, controlling force, by obeying those who suppress or destroy freedom and initiative. Obey. It's not an EP on any level I ever heard. And they give it in the form of confidence, misplaced, of course, by electing those who take the fun out of life's games and get and keep more power for themselves. And this power is given in the insane actions, not 7%, because they, and these are the key things, believe that there is no alternative. Thus, do not recognize that they were the largest power source on the planet, and that they were the source of all the suppressive power being used against them. And 5, that they could take away the power from the 2 or 3% any time they want by just not giving it to them. 5 minutes. Single minute. Note, it is an observable fact that also part of the power given to the 2 or 3% was used to carefully miseducate the 97% into not having the knowledge of these things above. For example, controlled media repeatedly being used to voice the belief that there is no alternative. The new civilization is the alternative. It is. The new civilization knows you have the power, you have the freedom, you have the purposes, you have the knowledge of how to play the game. You have the right to your own sanity and will not agree to insane uses of power. You have the right to leave any game you don't like. Take your power, your knowledge, and your purposes with you and join another, start another, or just not play at all. And that you will enjoy the new civilization game if you decide to play. And that if you do decide to play, you and all of us on this planet will win. Yeah. That's it.